today starts with the nervous system. Aim for today's practically study of nervous system with the help of models, charts and the specimen.
Of nervous system are model, chart and the specimen. Now see, here is the model of the nervous system. Next one is the brain and the spinal cord of the nervous system. Now in that the first one is the nervous system model. First one is contains the brain. Next one is the cerebellum. Again the cervical nerve. Here is the cervical nerve. Next one is the thoracic nerve, lumbar nerve, sacral nerve, and the coccygeal nerve, and the tibial nerve. Here is the total model of the nervous system. This nervous system is divided into the two parts. First one is the central nervous system and second one is the peripheral nervous system. This central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. Brain and the spinal cord. And the autonomic nervous system, which is get divided into the two parts. Cranial nerve and the thoracic nerve. This cranial nerve contains the 12 pair and the thoracic nerves they contains the 31 pair. Now see, here is the cervical nerve and here is the thoracic nerves.
Introduction of nervous system. The nervous system and the endocrine system are the chief control center in maintaining body homeostasis. It means the nervous system uses the electrical signal, that is the nerve impulses, which produces the immediate response, and the endocrine system uses the chemical signals, which is the hormones, that produces the slower response. Nervous system has the three major functions. In that the first one is the sensory input, second one is the integration, and third one is the motor output. This sensory input or the afferent neuron detect the internal or external changes or the stimuli and send message to the brain and the spinal cord. Integration, the interneuron in the brain or the spinal cord process and interpret the message from the sensory neurons and relay the message back to the body parts. Motor output, the motor or efferent neuron receive the message from the interneuron and produce a response at the effector organ, it means the muscles and the glands. See the diagram. These are the sensory input. This sensory input passes from the sensory input to the interneuron or the integration, and this interneuron or integration and the brain or the spinal cord interpret this message and back towards the motor output. Now next one is the afferent and the efferent nerves. Now see, afferent means moving towards and efferent, it means the moving away. Now the difference between afferent and efferent. Afferent neurons are the neurons that carry the sensory impulses towards the CNS. Efferent neurons are the neurons that carry the motor impulses away from the CNS. In afferent is also called as the sensory neuron and efferent is also known as the motor neurons. In afferent, carry the signal from sensory organs to the central nervous system, and in efferent, carry the signal from the central nervous system to the effector organs and the tissue. In the afferent, they consist of the short axon and one long dendron, and in efferent, they consist of one long axon and many short dendrons. In the afferent, they consist of a receptor, and in efferent, they lack of a receptor. In afferent, cell body is situated in the dorsal root ganglion of the spinal cord and no dendrites are found in it. And in efferent, cell body is situated in the ventral root ganglion of the spinal cord and consists of the dendrites. In the afferent, they carry the signal from the outer part of the body into the central nervous system, and efferent carry the signal from the central nervous system to the outer part of the body. Afferent neurons are the unipolar and efferent neurons are the multipolar. The afferent neuron found in the skin, eyes, ear, tongue and the nose, whereas efferent neurons are mainly found in the muscles and the glands. Next one is the organization of nervous system. This organization of nervous system is also called as the classification of the nervous system. The classification of nervous system get divided into the two parts. First one is the central nervous system and second one is the peripheral nervous system. This central nervous system get again divided into the two parts, brain and the spinal cord. And this peripheral nervous system get divided into the sensory or the afferent division, and second one is the motor or the efferent division. Again this motor or efferent division get divided into the two parts. First one is the autonomic nervous system and second one is the somatic nervous system. Again this autonomic nervous system get divided into the two parts. First one is the sympathetic nervous system and second one is the parasympathetic nervous system. Next one is the nerve tissue. The two principal cells that of the nerve system, first one is the neuron and second one is the supporting cell. Neurons, which is the excitable cells that transmit the electrical signals, and second one is the supporting cell, which is also called as the neuroglia or the glial cells that surround and wrap the neurons. First one is the neuron. Neuron is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. They are the specialized cell to transmit the message or the electrical impulses. Now the microscopy of the neuron. All neurons have a cell body which is called as the soma and which contains the nucleus, organelles and a modified endoplasmic reticulum which is called as the nucleus body. Extension of the soma from a nerve such as dendrites which conduct the nerve impulses towards the soma and axon which conduct nerve impulses away from the soma. It means to the another neuron or the effector organ. The number of dendrites ranges from 1 in the unipolar and bipolar neuron and to the 1000 in multipolar neuron. All neurons only contain the one axon. Next one is the node of Ranvier, which is a gap or nodes in the myelin sheath. Longer axons are enclosed by a lipoprotein substance and this lipoprotein substance is called as the myelin sheath, which is produced by type of neuroglia cells called as the Schwann cells. These are the diagram of the neuron. They contain the dendrites, cell body, myelin sheath, node of Ranvier, axon and last one is the axon terminal. These are the axon, myelin sheath, cell body, now the next one is the classification of neuron. Both the structural and functional features are used to classify the various neurons in the body. Now the first one is the structural classification of neurons. Structurally, neurons are classified according to the number of processes extending from the cell body. The neurons, in the structurally, neurons are classified into the three types. First one is the unipolar, second one is the bipolar, and third one is the multipolar neuron. First one is the multipolar neuron. Usually, they have a several dendrites and the one axon. Most neurons in the brain and the spinal cord are of this type as well as the motor neurons. Second one is the bipolar neurons. They have a one main dendrite and one axon. They are found in the retina of the eye, inner ear, and olfactory area of the brain. Last one is the unipolar neurons. Have a dendrites and a one axon that are fused together to form a continuous process that emerges from the cell body. The neurons are more appropriately called pseudo-unipolar neurons because they begin in the embryo as a bipolar neurons. During development, the dendrites and the axon fuse together and become a single process. Now these are the diagram of the multipolar neuron. They contain the one long axon and many short dendron. In bipolar neuron, they contain the short axon and the one main dendron. In the unipolar neuron, they contain the dendrites and the axon fuse together and form the cell body. The dendrites of the most unipolar neuron function as a sensory receptor that detect the sensory stimuli such as a touch, pressure, pain or the thermal stimuli. The trigger zone for nerve impulses in a unipolar neuron is at the junction of the dendrites and the axon. The impulses then propagate towards the synaptic endpulse. The cell bodies of the most unipolar neurons are located in the ganglia of spinal and the cranial nerves. The type of sensory receptor found in the dendrites of a unipolar neuron determines the type of sensory stimulus that the unipolar neuron can detect. In addition to the structural classification scheme, just described, some neurons are named for the histologist who first describe them or for an aspect of their shape or appearance. For example, is the Purkinje cells in the cerebellum and the pyramidal cells found in the cerebral cortex of the brain, which have the pyramidal shaped cell bodies. These are the Purkinje cells and second one is the pyramidal cell. Next one is the second one is the functional classification. Functionally, neurons are classified according to the direction in which the nerve impulses or the action potential is conveyed with respect to the central nervous system. First one is the sensory or the afferent neuron. Either contain sensory receptor at their distal end or are just located just after the sensory receptor that are the separate cells. Once an appropriate stimulus activates the sensory receptor, the sensory neuron forms an action potential in its axon and then the action potential is conveyed into the central nervous system through the cranial or the spinal nerves. Most sensory neurons are the unipolar in structure. Second one is the multipolar or the efferent neuron. Convey the action potential away from the central nervous system to the effector in the periphery through cranial or the spinal nerves. Motor neurons are multipolar in structure. And third one is the interneuron. They are mainly located within the central nervous system between sensory and the motor neurons. The interneurons integrate the incoming sensory information from sensory neuron and then elicit a motor response by activating the appropriate motor neurons. Most of the interneurons are multipolar in structure. Next one is the neuroglia. The 6 types of the neuroglia, in that the 4 are found in the central nervous system and remaining 2 are present in the peripheral nervous system. Astrocyte, oligodendrocyte, microglia and the ependymal cells found in the central nervous system, and Schwann cells and the satellite cell found in the peripheral nervous system. First one is the neuroglia of the CNS. In that, astrocyte. They are the star-shaped cell found between neurons and the blood vessels. They are the most abundant glial cells. And function is the structural support transport of the substance between blood vessels and the neuron, mop up excess ion and neurotransmitters. Second one is the microglial cell, which is a small ovoid cells, and function is structural support and the phagocytosis. Third one is the ependymal cells, which is a cuboidal or columnar shaped cells, and function is form a porous layer through which substances diffuse between the interstitial fluid and the cerebrospinal fluid. And fourth one is the oligodendrocyte, which resemble astrocyte but have less process and arrange in the rows along the nerve fibers. And function is to produce the myelin sheath within the brain and the spinal cord. These are the diagram of the neuroglia, in that the oligodendrocyte, microglial cell, astrocyte and the ependymal cells. Types of the neuroglia. See, first one is the ependymal cell, oligodendrocyte, astrocyte, microglia, and in peripheral nervous system, satellite cell and the Schwann cells. Astrocyte. Most abundant, versatile and the highly branched glial cells cling to neurons and cover the capillaries. Function is to support and brace the neuron, anchor neuron to their nutrient supplies, guide the migration of young neuron and control the chemical environment. Second one is the microglial cells. These are the microglial, it means a small ovoid cells with a spiny process, and function is the phagocytosis. Ependymal cells which is a squamous to columnar shaped cells and line central cavities of the brain and spinal cord. Oligodendrocytes, branch cells that wrap the central nervous system, nerve fiber, and process of oligodendrocytes are responsible for forming and maintaining the myelin sheath around the CNS axon. Next one is the neuroglia of the PNS. They are the Schwann cells and the satellite cells. First one is the Schwann cell. These cells encircle the peripheral nervous system axon. Like the oligodendrocyte, they form the myelin sheath around the axon. A single oligodendrocyte myelinates several axons, but each Schwann cells myelinate a single axon. A single Schwann cell can also enclose as many as 20 or more unmyelinated axons. Schwann cells participate in axon regeneration, which is more easily accomplished in the peripheral nervous system than in the central nervous system. Next one is the satellite cell. These flat cells surround the cell bodies of the neuron of peripheral nervous system ganglia. Beside providing structural support, satellite cells regulate the exchange of materials between the neuronal cell bodies and the interstitial fluid. Next one is the classification and properties of the nerve fiber. According to the size and the speed of conduction, the nerve fibers are classified into the 3 different categories, which are A, B and C. First one is the type A fiber. These fibers are thickest and fast conducting fiber, they are the myelinated. They have a diameter of 1.5 to 20 micron and speed of conduction is 4 to 120 meter per second, which shows that they have a really fast conducting of the nerve impulses. Example of type A fiber are skeletomotor fibers and afferent fibers to the skin. Next one is the type B fiber. These are a fiber which is a medium in size, that is they are smaller than the type A fiber and larger than the type C fiber. They are the myelinated and have a diameter of 1.5 to 3.5 micron. It means the lesser than the type A fiber. The speed of conduction is 3 to 15 meter per second, which shows that they are slower than the type A fiber and faster than the type C fiber. Example of type B fiber are a preganglionic autonomic efferent. Next one is the type C fiber. These fibers are the smallest and the thinnest fiber. They are the non-myelinated. They have a diameter of 0.1 to 2 micron and speed of conduction is 0.5 to 4 meter per second, which shows that they have the slowest conduction. Example of type C fibers are postganglionic autonomic efferent and afferent fibers to the skin. It means the type A fiber is the fastest conducting fiber as compared to the type B and the type C. Next one is the electrophysiology. Electrophysiology is a branch of physiology that studies the electrical properties of biological cell and the tissue. It involves measurement of voltage changes or electrical current or manipulation on a wide variety of scale from single ion channel protein to whole organ like the heart. In neuroscience, it includes measurement of the electrical activity of neurons and in particular action potential activity. Next one is the action potential. Now first one is the resting membrane potential. To measure resting membrane potential, the tip of the recording electrode is inserted inside the neuron and the reference electrode which is placed in the extracellular fluid. The electrodes are connected to the voltmeter that measures the difference in change across the plasma membrane. Now see in the diagram. First one is the distribution of charges that produce the resting membrane potential in neuron. It means these are the cells. Inside the cell there are presence of the negative charge and outside the cell there are presence of the more of the positively charged. Inside the cell there is presence of the potassium ion and outside the cell there is presence of the sodium ions. In the resting state, the sodium is present in the outside the cell and potassium is present in the inside the cell. It means the excess of the negative charge present inside the cell and positive charge outside the cell, and cell is at the resting state potential. Now second one is the measurement of the resting membrane potential. It means the recording electrode is put in the neuron and those reference electrode put in the extracellular fluid and both are attached to the voltmeter and they measure the changes in the membrane. There are the three factors that contribute the resting membrane potential. Now the first one is because the plasma membrane has the more potassium leak channels than the sodium leak channels, the number of potassium ions that leave the cell is greater than the number of the sodium ions that enter the cell. As more and more potassium ions leave the cell, the inside of the membrane becomes the negatively and the outside of the membrane becomes the positively. Tap ions cannot flow potassium out of the cell because they are attached to non-diffusible molecules such as the ATP and a large protein. And the electrogenic sodium potassium ATPase expel 3 sodium ions for every 2 potassium ions imported. It means in the membrane they contain the more the potassium channel as compared to the sodium channel. And this sodium potassium ATPase pump which expel the 3 sodium ion and the 2 potassium ion. Now these are the resting phase, depolarization, repolarization and the repolarization phase continuous. In the resting membrane potential, it means the sodium is present in the outside the membrane and potassium is excess amount of the potassium is present in inside the membrane and cell is at the resting state. Now second one is the depolarization phase. It means the opening of the sodium channel. See in that sodium channel get open and they causes the influx of the sodium. It means the sodium goes to the inside the cell and the cell get fully positively charged. Next one is the repolarization phase. In that the repolarization phase, closing of the sodium channel and opening of the potassium channel and they causes the efflux of the potassium. It means the potassium goes to the outside and cell get the negatively charged. These are the repolarization. Now the same phases of the action potential. First one is the resting phase. Resting phase which is the minus 70 millivolt. It means the sodium is present in outside the cell and potassium is present inside the cell. Inside the cell there is the negative charge and outside the cell there is the positive charge. These are the resting state which is the minus 70 millivolt. Second one is the depolarization phase. In that the depolarization phase, opening of the sodium channel. It means that they causes the influx of the sodium. It means sodium goes to the cell or inside the cell and cell get fully positively charged and they cause the depolarization. Next one is the repolarization. At that point, when the potassium channel get open, then that time the sodium channel get closed and potassium causes the efflux. It means the cell get negatively charged and they causes the repolarization. After the repolarization, there is the hyperpolarization. It means the cell get fully negatively charged and this causes the hyperpolarization. It means the below the resting state and cell again get to form the resting state after the hyperpolarization. Next one is the nerve impulses. In that the nerve impulses, the transmitter is synthesized or the neurotransmitter is synthesized and stored in the vesicle. These are the vesicles. And action potential invades the presynaptic terminals. The depolarization of presynaptic terminal causes the opening of voltage gated sodium channel and opening of the voltage gated sodium calcium channel cause the influx. They cause the vesicle to fuse within the presynaptic membrane and transmitter is get released from the synaptic vesicles and they pass to the synaptic cleft. After the synaptic cleft, they bind to the receptor molecule to the postsynaptic membrane and opening or closing of the postsynaptic channel. The postsynaptic current causes the excitatory or inhibitory postsynaptic potentiation that changes the excitability of the postsynaptic cell. And last is removal of the neurotransmitter like glial uptake and enzymatic degradation. Retrieval of vesicular membrane from the plasma membrane. These are the nerve impulses. It means the neurotransmitter gets synthesized in the presynaptic membrane and stored in the synaptic vesicle. When the action potential gets generated at the presynaptic terminal, then they causes the depolarization of presynaptic terminal and cause the opening of the calcium channel and this calcium channel cause the influx. And they rupture the synaptic vesicle and releases the neurotransmitter. This released neurotransmitter bind to the receptor and this receptor is present in the postsynaptic membrane and they opening or closing of the postsynaptic channel. And the postsynaptic current cause the excitatory and the inhibitory postsynaptic potentiation. These are the nerve impulses. Next one is the receptor. A receptor is a protein which binds to a specific molecule. The molecule it binds is known as the ligand or It is defined as a macromolecule or binding site located on the surface or inside the effector cell that serve to recognize the signal, molecule or drug and initiate the response to it, but itself has no further function. Now see, these are the ligand to a membrane receptor. These are the cell membrane, extracellular and the intracellular fluid. These are the receptor. And these ligand bind to the receptor and they form the ligand receptor complex. Now these are the receptor and ligand. The example is the key and the lock. If the key is perfect, then lock get opened. If the types of a receptor. First one is the ligand-gated ion channels or the ionotropic receptor. Second one is the G protein coupled receptor or the metabotropic receptor. Third one is the kinase link and related receptor. Fourth one is the nuclear receptor. Now the ligand-gated ion channel example is cholinergic nicotinic receptor. G protein coupled receptor example is alpha and beta adrenoreceptor. Enzyme link receptor example is insulin receptor. And the nuclear receptor example is the steroid receptor. Next one is the synapses. A synapses is the junction between two neurons or between a neuron and an effector organ or the muscle or the gland. First one is the presynaptic neuron that sends and impulses to the synapses, which is a presynaptic neuron. Axon, the nerve fiber extends from the presynaptic neuron that propagates the impulses to the synapses. Synaptic knob, the round ending of the axon. Synaptic vesicles, membranous sac that contains a neurotransmitter, for example is acetylcholine, norepinephrine, dopamine located in the synaptic knob. Synaptic cleft, a gap between the two neurons in the synapses. Dendrite, a nerve fiber that continues to propagate the nerve impulses to the second neuron. Receptor on these dendrites receive the neurotransmitter from the axon. And the last one is the postsynaptic neuron, the axon that receives the nerve impulses from the presynaptic neuron that the synapses. Now see in the diagram. These are the presynaptic neuron. These are the postsynaptic neuron. In the presynaptic neuron, there is presence of the synaptic vesicles. These are the synaptic cleft. In the postsynaptic neuron, presence of the receptor. Now see in the diagram. When action potential get generated, then they rupture the synaptic vesicles and release of the neurotransmitter. And these released neurotransmitter get bind to the receptor and they activate the postsynaptic membrane. These are the synapses. These are the synaptic vesicles, synaptic cleft, presynaptic membrane and the postsynaptic membrane, and these are the receptor and these are the neurotransmitters. Next one is the what is meant by the neurotransmitter, which is the chemicals used for neuronal communication with the body and the brain. 50 different neurotransmitters have been identified and they are classified chemically and functionally. The neurotransmitter act like a key and the receptor site act like a lock. Now the chemical neurotransmitters are acetylcholine, biogenic amines, amino acid and the peptides and the novel messengers. And the functional classification is the excitatory neurotransmitter which cause the depolarization. Example is the glutamate. And the inhibitory neurotransmitter cause the hyperpolarization, which is the GABA and the glycine. In the first part, we study the nervous system, classification of nervous system, what is meant by the nerve impulses, what is meant by the action potential, receptor, neurotransmitter and the electrophysiology. Now in the second part, we will study the central nervous system. Now the central nervous system includes the brain and the spinal cord. Now the first one is the meninges of the brain and the spinal cord. The meninges are the three covering around the brain and spinal and help to cushioning, protect and nourishes the brain and the spinal cord. The meninges are the three protective connective tissue covering the encircle the spinal cord and the brain. They form a superficial to deep. They are the dura mater, arachnoid mater and the pia mater. Now see in the diagram. These are the dura mater, arachnoid mater and the pia mater. Pia mater is the innermost, middle one is the arachnoid mater and the superficial layer is the dura mater. Now same in the spinal cord. See, middle one is the arachnoid mater, superficial is the dura mater and the innermost is the pia mater. Now first one is the dura mater. The most superficial of the three spinal meninges is a thick strong layer composed of the dense irregular connective tissue. It surrounds and supports the dural sinuses. Dura mater has the two layers. The superficial layer which serves as the skull's inner peristoria or the peristoleal layer and the deep layer which is the meningeal layer. Second one is the arachnoid mater. The arach which is the spider and oid, it means the similar to. This layer, the middle layer of the meningeal membrane, is a thin, a vascular covering comprised of cell and thin, loosely arranged collagen and elastic fibers. It is called the arachnoid mater because of its spiral web arrangement of delicate collagen fiber and some elastic fibers. It is deep to the dura mater and it continues through the foramina magnum with the arachnoid mater of the brain. Between the dura mater and the arachnoid mater is a thin subdural space which contains the interstitial fluid. It means the space between the dura and the arachnoid mater is called as the subdural space. Third one is the pia mater. This innermost meninges is a thin transparent connective tissue layer that adheres to the surface of the spinal cord and the brain. Between the arachnoid mater and the pia mater is a space which is called as the subarachnoid space. Next one is the ventricles of the brain. The ventricles are the structure that produce the cerebrospinal fluid and transport it around the cranial cavity. They are lined by the ependymal cells which form a structure called as the choroid plexus, and it is within the choroid plexus that is the cerebrospinal fluid is produced. Embryologically, the ventricular system is derived from the lumen of the neural tube. In total, there are the four ventricles. Lateral ventricle, third ventricle and the fourth ventricle. And these lateral ventricle get divided into the right and the left lateral ventricle. First one is the lateral ventricles. The left and the right lateral ventricles are located within their respective hemisphere of the cerebrum. They have horn which projects into the frontal, occipital and the temporal lobes. The volume of the lateral ventricle increases with the age. Next one is the third ventricle. The lateral ventricles are connected to the third ventricle by the foramina of the Mondra. The third ventricle is situated in between the right and the left thalamus. The anterior surface of the ventricle contains the protrusion. Supraoptic recess, which is located above the optic chiasma, and the infundibular recess located above the optic stalk. Next one is the fourth ventricle. The fourth ventricle is the last in the system. It receives the cerebrospinal fluid from the third ventricle via the cerebral aqueduct. It lies within the brainstem at the junction between the pons and the medulla oblongata. From the fourth ventricle, the fluid drains into the two places. The first one is the central spinal canal, which bathes the spinal cord. And second one is the supraarachnoid cisterns, which bathe the brain between arachnoid matter and the pia matter. Here is the cerebrospinal fluid is reabsorbed back into the circulation. Now these are the lateral ventricles in the cerebral hemisphere. They contain the left and the right. Next one is these are the third ventricle. Again the cerebral aqueduct, and last one is the fourth ventricle. Next one is the cerebrospinal fluid. This cerebrospinal fluid is a clear, colorless liquid composed primarily of water, which protect the brain and spinal cord from the chemical and the physical injuries. It also carries small amount of oxygen, glucose and other needed chemicals from the blood to neurons and the neuroglia. The cerebrospinal fluid continuously circulates throughout the cavities in the brain and spinal cord and around the brain and spinal cord in the subarachnoid space. The space is between the arachnoid and the pia mater. The total volume of cerebrospinal fluid is the 80 to 150 ml in adult. Ventricles are cavities within the brain that are filled with the cerebrospinal fluid. Now the function of cerebrospinal fluid. First one is the mechanical protection. This cerebrospinal fluid serves as a shock absorbing medium that protects the delicate tissue of the brain and spinal cord from the jolts that would otherwise cause them to hit the bony walls of the cranial cavity and the vertebral canal. The fluid also voids the brain so that it floats into the cranial cavity. Second one is the homeostatic function. The pH of the cerebrospinal fluid affects the pulmonary ventilation and cerebral blood flow, which is important in maintaining homeostasis, controls the brain tissue. Cerebrospinal fluid also serves as a transport system for polypeptide hormones secreted by hypothalamic neurons that act at remote site in the brain. And third one is the circulation. Cerebrospinal fluid is a medium for minor exchange of nutrients and waste products between the blood and adjacent nervous tissue. Formation of the cerebrospinal fluid in the ventricle. The majority of cerebrospinal fluid production is from the choroid plexus, network of blood capillaries in the wall of the ventricles. The ependymal cell joined by tight junction cover the capillaries of the choroid plexus. Selected substances from the blood plasma which are filtered from the capillaries are secreted by the ependymal cells to produce the cerebrospinal fluid. This secretory capacity is bidirectional and account for continuous production of cerebrospinal fluid and transport of metabolites from the nervous tissue back to the blood. Now next one is the circulation of cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid form in the choroid plexus of each lateral ventricle. It means the right and the left lateral ventricle flows into the third ventricle through the two narrow oval openings, the intraventricular foramina. It means the cerebrospinal fluid is formed in the choroid plexus of the lateral ventricle and they pass to the third ventricle by the two narrow or oval opening is the interventricular foramina. The more cerebrospinal fluid is added by the choroid plexus in the roof of the third ventricle. After the passing of the cerebrospinal fluid into the lateral ventricle to the third ventricle. The third ventricle also holds the small amount of the cerebrospinal fluid in the third ventricle. The fluid then flows through the adequate of the midbrain, which passes through the midbrain into the fourth brain. Now see, first one is the lateral ventricle. In that the choroid plexus produces the cerebrospinal fluid. They pass to the third ventricle. In that the third ventricle, again the choroid plexus added some of the cerebrospinal fluid, and they again pass to the midbrain to the fourth ventricle. The choroid plexus of the fourth ventricle contributes to the more fluid. Again they add the more fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid enters the subarachnoid space through the three openings in the roof of the fourth ventricle, a single median aperture and the pair lateral aperture, one on each side. The cerebrospinal fluid then circulates in the central canal of the spinal cord and in the subarachnoid space around the surface of the brain and the spinal cord. Now see, these are the flow of the cerebrospinal fluid. Now the first one is the cerebrospinal fluid is secreted by the choroid plexus in the lateral ventricle. After that, they are passed through interventricular foramina into the third ventricle. Okay, and that this choroid plexus in the third ventricle added the more cerebrospinal fluid. Again, the cerebrospinal fluid down to the cerebral adequate to the fourth ventricle. Again, this fourth ventricle choroid plexus add the more cerebrospinal fluid, and this cerebrospinal fluid flow out the lateral aperture and the one median aperture. Two lateral aperture and the one median aperture. Again, this fluid pass to the subarachnoid space and bathe the external surface of brain and the spinal cord. These are the flow of the cerebrospinal fluid, and this choroid plexus is responsible for the production of the cerebrospinal fluid. It is the lateral ventricle through the interventricular foramina to the third ventricle, and to third ventricle through the adequate of the midbrain to the fourth ventricle, and the fourth ventricle to the subarachnoid space through the lateral and median aperture, and subarachnoid space to the subarachnoid villi of dura venous sinus and heart and the lungs. Now the structure and function of the brain. The adult brain consists of four major parts: brainstem, cerebellum, diencephalon and the cerebellum. The brainstem is continuous with the spinal cord and consists of the medulla oblongata, pons and the midbrain. Posterior to the brainstem is the cerebellum, which is the little brain. Superior to the brainstem is the diencephalon, which consists of the thalamus, hypothalamus and the epithalamus. Supported on the diencephalon and the brainstem is the cerebrum, which is the largest part of the brain. Now these are the diencephalon contains the thalamus, hypothalamus and the pineal gland, which is a part of the epithalamus. Next one is the brainstem, midbrain, pons and the medulla oblongata, cerebellum and the spinal cord. Next one is the pituitary gland and the cerebrum, which is the largest part. Now the function of the different parts of the brain. Brainstem or a cerebrum, which is a pair between the left and the right superior part of the brain, include more than half of the brain mass. The cerebrum is the seat of intelligence. It provides us with the ability to read, write and speak, to make a calculation and compose the music, and to remember the past, plan for the future and imagine things that have never existed before. The cerebrum consists of an outer cerebral cortex, an integral region of a cerebral white matter and grey matter nuclei deep within the white matter. It means the outer side is the white matter and the inner side is the grey matter. The surface is made up of elevator ridges which is called as the gyri, and shallow grooves, which is called as the sulci. Now next one is the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is a region of grey matter that forms the outer rim of the cerebrum. Although only 2 to 4 mm thick, the cerebral cortex contains the billion of neurons arranged in the layers. During the embryonic development, when brain size increases rapidly, the grey matter of the cortex enlarges much faster than the deeper white matter. As a result, the cortical region rolls and folds on itself. Their folds are called as the gyri. The deepest groove between the folds are known as a fissure. The shallower grooves between folds are termed as the sulci. The most prominent fissures, the longitudinal fissure, which separate the cerebrum into the right and the left halves, which is called as the cerebral hemisphere. The cerebral hemisphere are connected internally by the corpus callosum or broad band of white matter containing axons that extend between the hemisphere. Now the lobes of the cerebrum. The fissures, it means the deep grooves, divide the cerebrum into the lobes. The surface lobe of the cerebrum, first one is the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe and the temporal lobe. Frontal lobe contains the one bone, parietal lobe contains the two bone, occipital lobe contains the one bone and temporal lobe contains the two bone. Next one is the frontal lobe. They are responsible for personality, behavior, emotions, judgment, planning, problem solving, speaking and writing, which is a Broca's area, body movement, which is the motor state, intelligence, concentration and the self-awareness. Next one is the parietal lobe, which is responsible for interpret the language, words, sense of touch, pain, temperature, interpret the signal from the vision, hearing, motor, sensory and memory. Spatial and visual perception. Occipital lobe for interpret the vision and temporal lobe understanding the language, memory, hearing, sequencing and the organization. Now these are the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere and they contain the various lobe, frontal lobe, next one is parietal lobe, occipital lobe and the temporal lobe. The central sulcus separate the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. The major gyrus, the precentral gyrus, located immediately anterior to the central sulcus, contain the primary motor area for the cerebral cortex. Another major gyrus, the postcentral gyrus, which is located immediately posterior to the central sulcus, containing the primary somatosensory area of the cerebral cortex. The lateral cerebral sulcus or the fissure separate the frontal lobe from the temporal lobe. The parieto-occipital sulcus separate the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe. The fifth part of the cerebellum, the insula, cannot be seen at the surface of the brain because it lies within the lateral cerebral sulcus deep to the parietal, frontal and the temporal lobe. Now see, these are the frontal lobe, these are the parietal lobe, occipital lobe. These are the central sulcus, precentral sulcus, frontal lobe, insula, lateral cerebral sulcus, temporal lobe, occipital lobe, parieto-occipital sulcus, parietal lobe, postcentral gyrus. Now next one is the cerebral white matter. The cerebral white matter consists primarily of myelinated axon in the three types of the tracts. First one is association tract, which contain the axon that conduct the nerve impulses between the gyri in the same hemisphere. Second one is the commissural tract, contain axon that conduct the nerve impulses from gyri in the one cerebral hemisphere to corresponding gyri in the other cerebral hemisphere. Three important groups of commercial tracts are the corpus callosum, anterior commissures and the posterior commissure. Projection tract, which contains the axon that conduct the nerve impulses from the cerebrum to the lower part of the central nervous system or from the lower part of the central nervous system to the cerebrum. Now next one is the specialized area of the cerebrum. Somatic sensory area, which receive the impulses from the body's sensory receptor. Primary motor area send the impulses to the skeletal muscle. Broca's area involved in our ability to speak. Cerebral area involved in spatial senses, which is the taste, visual area, auditory area and the olfactory area. Interpretation area of the cerebrum, which is the speech and the language region. Language compression region. General interpretation area. Next one is the medulla. The medulla is the control center of the respiratory, cardiovascular and the digestive function. Next one is pons. The pons houses of the control center for respiration and the inhibitory function. Here it will interact with the cerebrum. Now next one is the cerebellum. The cerebellum is the part of the brain that is located posterior to the medulla oblongata and the pons. It coordinates skeletal muscle to produce smooth, graceful motion. The cerebellum receives information from our eyes, ear, muscle and joints about what position our body is currently in. It also receives output from the cerebral cortex about where these parts should be. After processing this information, the cerebral sends motor impulses from the brainstem to the skeletal muscle. The main function of the cerebellum is to coordination. The cerebellum is also responsible for balance and the posture. It also assists us when we are learning a new motor skill such as playing a sport or musical instrument. Recent research show that apart from the motor functions, cerebellum also has some emotional roles. Next one is the spinal cord. Location enclosed within the vertebral column. Extend from the foramina magnum to the upper border of the lumbar tooth. Meninges, they contain the dura mater, which is the superficial layer. Next one is the arachnoid matter, middle one layer, and third one is the pia mater, which is the deepest layer. Structure, they are the long and cylindrical, 42 cm in length and 1.8 cm in thick. Has the two enlarged portion, cervical enlargement, which is the C4 and the T1. Receive sensory input from the upper limb, send motor output to the upper limb. Next one is the lumbar enlargement, it means the T9 and T12. Receive sensory input from the lower limb, send motor output to the lower limb. Now the function of conduct the sensory signals up the cord, conduct motor signal down the cord, integrate the certain reflexes, cross section, flat from front to back and elliptical in shape. Has two grooves that run in length, separating it into right and the left halves. Anterior median fissure, posterior median fissure. The central portion has a canal called as the central canal. Gray matter, a butterfly-shaped structure that occupies the central portion of the cord. The two lateral masses are connected by the great commissure that surround the central canal, and the posterior horn projects posteriorly, the anterior horn anteriorly, and the small lateral horn laterally. Consist of cell bodies of the interneuron and motor neuron, neuroglial cell, and the unmyelinated axon. Next one is the white matter. The area surrounding the grey matter, divided into three columns, namely anterior, posterior, and the laterally, consist almost entirely of myelinated motor and sensory axon. Column of white matter carry information either up or down the cord. Fibers run in three directions. First one is ascending, descending, and the transferly. Divided into three columns, posterior, lateral, and the anterior. Each column contains the several fiber tracts. The fiber tracts namely reveal their origin and the destination. Fiber tracts are composed of axon with small similar function. Thank you. One is the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system, which act on the smooth muscles and the glands, the controls and regulation of the heart, respiratory system, gastrointestinal tract, bladder, eyes, and the glands. Now, what is meant by the involuntary? Involuntary, which is a person has little or the no control. Now, next one is the somatic, or which is also called as the voluntary. In that, person has a control in the skeletal muscle. Now, autonomic nervous system has the two sets of neuron. First one is the afferent, which is also called as sensory, and second one is the efferent, which is also called as the motor. Now, first one is the afferent or the sensory. They send the impulses to the central nervous system for the interpretation. Next one is the efferent. They receive the impulses or the information from the brain and transmit from the spinal cord to the effector organ cells. And this autonomic nervous system has the two branches, sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic and parasympathetic division typically function in opposition to each other, but this opposition is better termed complementary in nature rather than the antagonistic for an analogy. One may think of sympathetic division as the accelerate and the parasympathetic division as the brake. The sympathetic division typically function in action, require quick response, and the parasympathetic division function with action that do not require immediate reaction. Consider the sympathetic is fight or flight and parasympathetic, which are the rest and the digest. Now this autonomic nervous system get divided into the two subtypes, sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. This sympathetic nervous system allows the body to function under the stress, which is a fight or flight action, primes body for intense skeletal muscle activity. In that parasympathetic, they maintain the function, rest and the digest, counterbalances sympathetic function. Now see, here is the autonomic nervous system. Sympathetic gives the fight or flight action and parasympathetic gives the rest and the digest. Now see, in the sympathetic system, the eyes get dilated, mouth in the salivation get decreases, in that the palm skin gets sweat, lungs, bronchi get dilated, breathe more rapidly and the shallowly. Now in the heartbeat speed up. Now stomach and intestine, the digestion is get inhibited. Next one is the parasympathetic nervous system. In that eyes gets contracted, mouth, in that salivation get increases, lungs, bronchi constriction, breathe more slowly and the deeply. Now in that the heartbeat gets slow down and the palm skin get dry, stomach and the intestine digestion is get stimulated. Now here is the difference between again the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Comparison of somatic and autonomic nervous system. Now first one is sensory neuron, in that the somatic senses and the special senses. In autonomic, mainly from the interoceptors located in blood vessels, visceral organ, nervous system that monitor the internal environment. Next one is effector, in that the somatic there is skeletal muscle, and autonomic cardiac, smooth muscle and the gland. Next one is control of motor neuron, in that somatic voluntary control from cerebral cortex with contribution from basal ganglia, cerebellum, brainstem and spinal cord. And in autonomic there is involuntary control from hypothalamus, limbic system, brainstem and spinal cord, limited control from the cerebral cortex. Now here is again the difference between sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now see, first one is the somatic nervous system. In that the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, the neurotransmitter is the acetylcholine. Next one is the autonomic nervous system. This autonomic nervous system are divided into the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now the first one is that there are the two neurotransmitter, acetylcholine and norepinephrine, preganglionic and the postganglionic. The acetylcholine is the preganglionic neurotransmitter which is a sympathetic, and in that the sympathetic postganglionic is the norepinephrine. An effector organ is the smooth vessels or the blood vessels. Now next one is the again the acetylcholine and epinephrine. Now in parasympathetic there is preganglionic axon and the postganglionic axon. Both are the acetylcholine neurotransmitter. Now here is the total difference of sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now first one is the origin. The sympathetic is origin from the cranial, thoracic and lumbar region of the central nervous system, while as parasympathetic which is originated from the cranial and sacral region of the central nervous system. Now main activity in the body. Now sympathetic prepare the body for intense physical activity and parasympathetic relax the body and inhibit the high energy function. Now position of ganglion in the sympathetic is close to the spinal cord, away from the effector, and in parasympathetic away from the spinal cord and close to the effector. Now the size of preganglionic fibers is short in sympathetic and long in parasympathetic. Now next one is size of postganglionic fiber, long in sympathetic and short in parasympathetic. Number of postganglionic fibers which is large in sympathetic but very few in the parasympathetic. Now coverage area for preganglionic fiber in sympathetic covers a wide area, while as parasympathetic covers only a restricted area. Now mode of effect in sympathetic shows diffuse effects in the area of influence, and in parasympathetic shows the localized effect in the area of influence. Now transmit substances. In sympathetic, non-adrenaline release at the effector, and in parasympathetic, acetylcholine release at the effector. Now next one is the time of dormancy. In that, dormant during the danger. Now in parasympathetic, dormant during the rest. Now next one is the control. In sympathetic, control reaction to stress. Next one is the control routine body activity. Now next one is the homeostatic effect, excitatory homeostatic effect and the inhibitory homeostatic effect. Now effect on blood level in sympathetic get increases and parasympathetic get decreases. Now effect on metabolic rate in the sympathetic get increases and parasympathetic get decreases. Now effect on heart, there is increase in the sympathetic and decrease in parasympathetic. Effect on sensory awareness, in sympathetic rest sensory awareness and in parasympathetic restore sensory awareness to normal level. Now effect on pupil, in sympathetic pupils get dilated and in parasympathetic pupils get constricted. Next one is effect on saliva secretion. In sympathetic inhibit saliva secretion and parasympathetic stimulates saliva secretion. Now effect on pulmonary system. In sympathetic, dilate the bronchial tubules, and in parasympathetic, constrict the bronchial tubules. Now next one is adrenal release. In sympathetic, release the adrenal from adrenal gland, and in sympathetic, non-action of adrenal gland. Next, the peripheral nervous system consists of 12 pairs of cranial nerves arising from brain and 31 pairs of the spinal nerve which are arising from the spinal cord. These sensory fibers relay information from receptor to central nervous system. Now next one is the somatic, which is a voluntary fibers connecting to the skin and skeletal muscles. Autonomic fibers connecting to viscera or the involuntary. Now peripheral nervous consist of bundle of nerve fibers encased by the connective tissue. Now fascicles, which is organized bundle of nerve fibers, connective tissue covering, epinarium, which is outermost layer, perinarium, which is surrounding the fascicles, endonarium surrounding the individual nerve fibers. Blood vessels pass through perinarium and epinarium capillary within the endonarium, provide oxygen and nutrients to the neurons. Now next, sensory nerves. They conduct the impulses into the brain or spinal cord. Motor nerves. They conduct the impulses to muscle or the gland. Next one is the mixed nerve, which means both the sensory as well as the motor nerves. They contain both sensory nerve fiber and motor nerve fiber. Most nerves are mixed nerve. All spinal nerves are mixed nerve except the first pair. Now first one is the olfactory nerve. First, transmit the impulses associated with smell. Second one is cranial nerve. Second is the optic nerve. They transmit the impulses associated with the vision. Oculomotor nerve, which is a motor impulses to muscle that move the eyes, the eyelids, iris and the lens. Next one is the cranial nerve. Fourth, which is a trochlear nerve, motor impulses to muscle that moves the eyes, which is a superior oblique. Next one is cranial nerve. Fifth, which is the trigeminal nerve, motor to muscle of the mastication or the chewing. There are the three branches. First one is ophthalmic branch, which is sensory around eyes. Maxillary branch, sensory of upper jaw and the teeth. Mandibular branch, which is sensory of lower jaw and the teeth. Next one is the abducens nerve, which is a cranial nerve 6. In that, motor impulses to lateral rectus muscle of eye, which is the eye movement. Next one is the cranial nerve 7, which is a facial nerve. The sensory from taste receptor and motor to muscle of facial expression. Next one is the cranial nerve 8, which is a vestibulocochlear nerve. In that, the vestibular branch is the sensory from equilibrium receptor of ear and cochlear branch, which is sensory from hearing receptors. Now next one is the cranial nerve 9, which is a glossopharyngeal nerve, sensory for tongue, which is a taste, motor to salivary gland, motor to pharynx and the swallowing. Next one is the cranial nerve 10, which is a vagus nerve, wandering, and they are the mixed nerve. This somatic motor to muscle of speech and swallowing. This autonomic motor to viscera of the thorax and the abdomen. Sensory from pharynx, larynx, esophagus and viscera of the thorax and the abdomen. Next one is the cranial nerve 11, which is the accessory nerve. The motor to muscle of soft palate, pharynx and larynx. Motor to muscle of neck and back. Next one is cranial nerve 12, which is a hypoglossal nerve, motor to muscle of the tongue. Now here is the trick to remember the cranial nerve. Now see, here is the total overview of the cranial nerves. Now see, first one is olfactory, which is the sensory nerve. Optic is sensory nerve. Oculomotor is the motor nerve. Trochlear is motor nerve. Now this trigeminal is the mixed nerve, which means they contain the sensory and motor. Abducens, which is a motor. Facial is the sensory as well as motor. Next one is the vestibulocochlear, which is sensory nerve. Glossopharyngeal is sensory and motor, means the mixed nerve. Next one is the accessory, which is a motor nerve, and the hypoglossal, which is again the motor nerve. All are the mixed nerve except the first pair. आता आपण बघतोय, here is the spinal nerves. There are 31 pair of the spinal nerves. 8 is the cranial nerve, C1 to C8. 12 is thoracic nerve, T1 and T12. 5 is lumbar nerve, L1 to L5. 5 the sacral nerve, S1 to S5. 1 is coccygeal nerve, C0 to or C6. Now a nerve plexus is a complex network formed by anterior branches of spinal nerve. The fiber of various spinal nerve are sorted and recombined. There are the three nerve plexes. First one is the cervical plexus. They are formed by anterior branch of C1 to C4 spinal nerve. Lies deep in the neck. Supply to muscles and skin of the neck. C3, C4, C5 nerve roots contribute to phrenic nerve bilaterally. This phrenic nerve conducts motor impulses to the diaphragm. Next one is the brachial plexus. They are formed by C5 to T1 spinal nerve. Lies deep within the shoulder. The branches include, first one is radial, second one is ulnar, and third one is the median nerve. First one is the radial nerve. They are extensor muscles of forearm, wrist and the fingers. May be damaged with the crutches. Now next one is the ulnar. They are intrinsic muscles of hand and the funny bone. Next one is median. Flexor muscles of forearm, wrist and the fingers. Inflamed with carpal tunnel and syndrome. Next one is the lumbosacral plexus. They are formed by T12 to S5 and there are again three branches of lumbosacral plexus. First one is obturator nerve which supply the motor impulses to adductors of thigh. Next one is the femoral nerve. They supply the motor impulses to muscles of anterior thigh and the sensory impulses from skin to thighs and the legs. Next one is the sciatic nerve. They supply the muscles and skin of thigh, leg and the feet. Now the thoracic and spinal nerve gives rise to intercostal nerve. They supply intercostal muscle, supply muscles of upper abdomen wall, receive sensory from skin of the thorax and the abdomen. Next one is the result. The digestive system, with the help of models, chart and the specimen, was studied. Next one is question bank. These are all the MCQs. Now here is the total of the central nervous system as well as the peripheral nervous system. Thank you.